Okay, hello GWC family, Ambassador Rene Liaw here, and I was asked by a lot of people to sort of give a quick sort of 2-3 minute video to explain how the different types of comp plans there are in the industry and what to really look out for. So, because for myself, having spent a good 5 years in different companies, I really learned to sort of look at what was the best thing to build for the most fairest chance, most easiest way to actually build that income. So here we go, right? So the very first thing we'll share with you guys are the 4 main types of comp plans out there. Okay, so again, the sort of the older ones, okay, was what we call the unilevel plans. Okay, unilevel. Okay, the second one that's out there is what we call the matrix. Okay, the matrix. The third one out there is what we call the stair-step breakaways. Okay, we just call it, I like to use the word breakaways, but sometimes there is this aspect of a stair-step. Okay, and for the fourth one is called the binary. Okay, binary. And of course, the fifth one, it's not really a fifth one, it's more like a hybrid where some companies are trying to combine different features of different parts up here to create a new kind of plan, okay? So how do you choose though? Because there's so many plans out there. And what I actually realized was that, for myself, there's sort of 2 main criteria that I looked at in choosing a plan. And so what are those 2 main criteria? Well, here we go. The 2 main criteria A and B criteria on how to choose a plan, okay? The first criteria A, is what I call how many legs. How many legs do you have to build, okay? And logically speaking, just think logically now, right? Is it easier to build 30 legs or 2 legs? Answer is 2. Is it easier to build 10 legs or 2 legs? Answer is going to be 2. Is it easier to build 3 legs or 2 legs? The answer is 2, right? So again, to me, why would I even want to build a plan that has to build more than 2 legs when 2 is just the easiest? Like, why would you choose to build 30 instead of building 2, right? So my answer is it has to be 2 legs. Anything more than that, don't even touch it, right? And here's exactly why it's actually a bad thing. Well, actually, I'm going to tell you about why it's a bad thing, how it relates to these 4 in a quick second, all right? But the second criteria that I looked at, how to choose a plan for the long term, again, lifelong passive income was which one pays you, how many levels does it pay you down to? So in other words, how many levels? So how many levels do you get paid down to? Because some companies out there, they only pay down to like 6 levels deep, or 6 generations deep, or 10 levels deep, right? But again, the question is, would you want to get paid down to 6 levels, or get paid down to 20 levels? Answer is 20. Would you want to get paid down to 20 levels, or get paid down to 100 levels? The answer is 100. Would you want to get paid from 100 levels, or down to infinity? The answer is infinity. Like, why would you choose a plan that would pay you even at 1,000 levels when you could choose a plan that pays you down to infinity? Okay, so again, to me, the plan must pay down to infinity. Because, there are plans out there that do this. And if you don't, and what happens is most people aren't aware of the kind of plans that are actually out there. So they kind of just go with what they're shown, but not really looking at the plans. Because here's my point, folks, right? There's so many companies out there in the world that have great products, that have, and great leadership. And, for me, if all these companies have great products, and I believe that, and I can find in these companies a leader to teach me how to build a system, then how do you choose? The question is, how do you choose which plan to work with, given that all products are good, and that, of course, I can find a leader to teach me, right? So again, I'm not going to be emotionally attached to the products here. I'm looking at the plan that pays me the most. And logically speaking, given all products are great, and there's great leaders in each company to show you the way and, walk the talk, well, to me, the only thing that made sense was to find the company that pays you the most amount of money for the least amount of effort, for the same effort. So the same effort that can pay you more, okay, but also can pay you more long term. So again, it's really important to understand that, when you're choosing a plan out there, just choose a good plan that can pay you a lot. And so again, how does this relate now to these 4 different kinds of systems, right? Now, the first one, in the unilevel plan, there's going to be you, and what happens is you have to build many legs. You have to build so many legs, right, to maximize the commissions, right? I see some plans, you got to build 20 wide to get paid on the 4 deep, or go 30 wide, right? And again, what happens here is that now you're putting all of your people front line to yourself. That's like your first level, right? Your first level, right? Okay? And of course, these people now are going to have their people, right? And so what's happening here is now you're building yourself wide, right? But here's the problem that I realized, right? Let's say you had two friends here. You had friend Bob and you had friend John. Bob and John both know each other, right? But again, you're now separating Bob and John. And the reason why is because usually in a unilevel system, the first level might pay you 10%. The second level might pay you only 8%. So you actually have, the lower you go down, the less you make. So you want to have everyone on the front line to yourself to really maximize that kind of a plan, right? But now because Bob and John know each other, what's going to happen here is now they're finding each other for the same friends. So they, if they're all friends together, they have the same mutual friends. Now what's happening is Bob and John are finding their friends to put into their own teams, right? And I didn't like that, right? So again, in a unilevel plan, it kills the first rule. You need to build more than 2 legs. It's just harder. It also kills the second rule because it only pays you, down to a few levels deep, right? Okay. So again, there are some plans out there that once you reach the highest rank, then you might get paid down to infinity. But my question is, why would you even bother choosing a plan that does that when you already have a plan that pays you 2 legs down to infinity on day 1? Like, why go through all that work just to unlock it when it already comes unlocked in certain companies, right? So again, unilevel plans, just horrible because a lot of competition. And again, retention is just horrible. The number 1 rule in retention in our marketing is that the deeper you can build it, the more retention that you're going to have, given that people on your team can get paid down to infinity, okay? Because if you build a huge team for people and they realize that they can unlock all that commission from down below, they're not going to quit. But if you build a really deep team for your downline, but they only get paid down to 10 levels, then they don't really care anymore. There's not that benefit of staying on board, right? So again, for me, unilevel plans was a big no-no in terms of choosing a plan. Okay, now let's take a look at how the matrix works, right? The matrix now is a very funny modification of the unilevel plan. The matrix, what happens here is there's going to be you, and of course, it's always like an X by Y. X by Y. Okay, X by Y, where X is how wide you get paid, and Y, so X is how wide you get paid, and Y is how deep you get paid. So, in the matrix plan, let's say it was a 3x7 plan, okay, not to mention any names out there, but there are plans like this. You have to build 3 legs, okay, and they have to build their own 3 legs, right? So everyone's building their own 3 legs here, right? And again, this is the first level, that's the second level, right? That's the third level. And of course, you eventually get stopped. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So at the 7th level, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, whatever it is, right? You get the point here, right? Just like the unilevel plan, what happens is that anything below the 7th level, okay, you don't get paid on. So it's so important to realize, it's important to find a plan that pays you down to infinity because that's how you build longevity, right? So in the unilevel plan, in the matrix plan, they don't pay you down to infinity. So imagine you have this huge spark, this all-star who's just killing it. We're all taught, right? If you find a spark, pour fuel on that spark, right? Build up that inferno, right? Because you want to support the sparks, right? Well, in a unilevel plan, or a matrix plan, or even a stair step, I'll cover that in a second, or even in some binaries, now you have no benefit from this person. So, they're like your biggest hotshot, but you don't get a dime of that, which to me just sucks, right? So the main thing is you want to choose a plan that pays you down to infinity because that's how you build longevity, and why not get paid down to infinity, right? So that's the problem with matrix. Now, again, the other issue with matrices here is that some matrices don't have a thing called dynamic compression, which is horizontal or vertical, where if you have a gap here, so in some matrices here, if one person here were to basically die out or not be active, that means that person, so I'm going to use a different color here. Let's say this person here was doing nothing, right? That means the next 3 people don't exist, and the next 3 people don't exist. So now this whole entire chain of people down here don't exist, right? And some matrix plans don't have what's called compression, where they're pushing people up to fill those empty spots. So, some do, some don't, but either way, I would never do a matrix again. I was in a matrix before because it stops you after a certain amount of levels, right? Again, some matrices will allow you to earn to infinity once you reach the highest rank. But again, why go through all the hard work to try to unlock infinity when you can get infinity payout on day 1? Okay, that's a matrix, right? So again, matrix here, not for me, okay? Now let's go on to the third type of plan we have out there. So I'm going to erase this really quickly here. All right, here we go. The third one we have here is the stair-step breakaway, okay? And how that works is that basically, you have this usual like sort of a stair-step of sales volume you want to bring in here, right? So when you sell some products, you might have this, this silver status, right? And you have, 2% commission, right? When you sell more, you might have this, this gold version and get 4% at that level, right? The more you sell, you might have this diamond rank, funny enough, other companies use ranks that we sell these products in, but anyway, the diamond, you have 6%, ruby maybe 8%, maybe at this double diamond or this executive diamond, whatever they call those fancy names, you'll have the highest payout, let's say 10%, just for example, okay? So again, these aren't exact numbers, I'm just giving you an example of how it kind of works here, right? So again, as you're selling more and you have more sales in your team, guess what now? The higher the rank you go. But here's the problem though, right? They're paying you 10%. The main issue is what happens if someone else in your team catches up to your rank. So if you have a huge team right now and they're all selling happily at these ranks here, guess what? You're cashing 10%, right? The second someone else in your team does what you did and matches your rank, they have what's called the breakaway phase. The breakaway part, they actually now break away from you, and now you get a lot less than 10%. So it's backwards. Again, you have a spark in your team that did really well, and they caught up to your rank, but all of a sudden, now you get less because they can't afford to pay you and that person the same kind of payout. So to me, a breakaway system is, really, really non-motivational, because once your spark matches you, they break away from you. So it's almost like you don't get paid to infinity because you keep breaking away. And what's going to happen here is let's say you have the first breakaway number 1. Okay, now that instead of getting 10%, you might get 5%, right? And let's say that someone between you and them, or someone in the team, has another double diamond. You have now breakaway number 2. So now the first person that broke away again because someone else in between caught up, right? So, but eventually, once they break away enough times, they can't keep paying you all these percentages. So eventually you get cut off from those sparks as well too. So again, it just does not pay to infinity. Again, you gotta build many different legs. Why? So again, this is like I'm showing you the criteria volume, but again, there's people here in the system, they're tracked again, most likely in a unilevel system as well too. Okay, so again, breakaways, and in fact, most companies nowadays are not doing unilevel, they're not doing matrices, they're not doing breakaways, they're now doing binary, okay? So binary, how does that work? Okay, here we go. I'm gonna catch my breath here, get some water, I'm so excited here. Okay, so binary. Binary is the only plan in the world where you only have to build 2 legs. Okay, so these other plans here, they all failed our criteria test, right? The only plan that passes these tests here is the binary system. It pays you on 2 legs, and it pays you down to infinity. Okay, however, here is the biggest sort of not scandal, but kind of sneaky thing that they do nowadays. There are a lot of binaries out there. They only pay you on 1 leg, which is like why, right? So in a binary, make sure that if you choose a binary, don't choose one that only pays you on 1 leg. You want to choose a binary plan that pays you on 2 legs. It just makes sense, right? Okay, but also in binaries, the older binaries used to be what's called a 50-50 split. So in the binary system here, of the volume that you have, let's say your criteria was to reach, let's say, 5,000 volume, right? So you want to have 5,000 volume, okay? And let's say, for example, that pays you $500. Okay, well, in the older binaries, you had to have exactly 50-50 balancing. So on the left side, right side, you had to have exactly 2,500 and 2,500 becomes together is 5,000, that then pays you $500, right? But again, the old binaries, what was really hard was that it's very rigid. And what happens if you only had 2,000 and 3,000? So your total volume is 5,000, but you don't have the exact 50-50 split that you need at 2,500, right? So they wouldn't pay you at that combination, okay? So some of the newer binaries got a bit more advanced, and they started making it into a 1/3, 2/3 binary, meaning that if you had 1,667 and 3,333, it would pay you, right? Okay, but the issue is this, right? The 1/3, 2/3 that were stuck at 1/3, 2/3 were also really rigid. Because watch this. What happens if, let's say, you had 2,000 and you had 3,000? In a 1/3, 2/3, set binary, you have the 1,667 because you have 2,000, right? But you don't have the 2/3. You don't have the 3,333. You only have 3,000, and again, it would not pay you. Okay, so what's really cool about our binary system is called a variable, meaning we pay you on every single possible combination that you see on the board today. We'll pay you 2001, 29999, 2002, 29998. Every single combination, as long as you have that 1/3 on one side, will actually pay you that commission. Pretty cool, right? Okay, so we're called what's called a variable plan, where we pay you on hundreds and hundreds of combinations in the system, okay? So that's one thing. Now, again, the other thing is that some binaries have a really high criteria that you have to have, like 5,000 volume to get $500, right? Some people might take a long time to get 5,000 volume. In our binary system, we have what's called the world's very first flex plan, where if you had as little as 400 CV, which is like the lowest I've ever seen, 400 CV can also pay you that paycheck, right? So we have different tiers here to allow you to reach that volume. And again, as long as you have the 1/3 on the other side, right? But I really want to cover today, the thing I really don't like is like the companies that only pay you on the one leg, right? Because here's what happens here. I'm going to draw you guys two diagrams and show you the math of what happens here, okay? So we have what's called the dual 10-10 binary system because we pay you on both the different legs here, right? So let's say you had a plan here, company ABC, okay? And again, you had left side, right side. You had 10,000 volume and you had 20,000 volume, okay? And let's say you had company GWT. That's us. We have you. Again, same scenario, left side, right side. You have two teams, 10,000 volume, and you have 20,000 volume, okay? Exact same scenario, ABC and GWT. Now, I'm going to, most binaries don't give you 20%. I'm going to say that company ABC gives you 20% commission on your weaker leg or your pay leg, right? Okay, well, the weaker leg here is 10,000, right? We have 20,000 here, so the weaker leg is 10,000. So 20% of 10,000, what you just made is $2,000, right? Looks pretty darn attractive, right? But don't forget, you did not touch a dime of the volume. You didn't get paid a single dime on the bigger leg, which is usually, in binary, you always have a bigger leg, right? You're not touching a dime of that here, right? Well, company GWT, okay, we only pay you, compared to 10%, but on both legs. Let's see how that works here, right? So you get 10% on both legs. So 10,000 plus 20,000, your total volume is 30,000, which then pays you 10%. So we have a dual 10-10, so 10 left, 10 right, 10-10. 30,000 at 10%, your payout is $3,000. We pay you 33% more than the best binaries out there today in the market. And they don't have this variable component of 100 combinations, right? So this is the biggest thing out there that is the biggest, not scam, but kind of deceiving math thing, because you're not touching, as this goes bigger and bigger and bigger in the system here, you're never touching that volume here. In our company, you get paid 10% on each leg, which is again a lot more. They get paid 20% on the smaller leg, okay? So again, imagine the same effort, the same work, the same effort, the same work, the same people in the team, you're now making at least 33% more, okay? But in reality, other binaries, to get 20% is very unlikely. You know, you start at 5%, and you might get 10%, but you have to work your way up to 20%. In GWT, just by launching as a diamond, you instantly unlock the 10% maximum commission on both sides. And so, folks, this is why, how I chose this company, because I realized, again, why build anything more than two legs? Why get paid anything less than infinity? It's not worth it, right? And of course, when you're choosing, again, in these three plans here, the only one that paid you on two legs down to infinity was binary, okay? And again, the only within the binaries, there's so many different criteria for 50-50, 1/3, 2/3, right? Pay leg, weaker leg. Again, we have the most advanced binary payout system in the industry. I've proven it on my website. But again, folks, this is exactly the training that some of you guys wanted to understand how the comp plans work out there, and hopefully now you look like the expert. So thank you very much, folks. Rene Liaw, and to the billion.